Welcome everyone to Khenpo Tenzin's series on the jewel ornament of liberation. We will begin today's teachings with opening prayers on the yellow prayer book, page number 5. May all mother sentient beings, limitless as space, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they not be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. May all mother sentient beings, limitless as space, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they not be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. May all mother sentient beings, limitless as space, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they not be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion.
Kajyo lama namje da jong je danandana tsara damje de lama laba la ye jizo zon la zan yon ten jam zon nga la wang ten zhe dong jen zhe pe ge le zur da zu lo ju zon ro war zin jia lab de zur ju lam den ro war zin jia lab de zu lam zhe wa zi war zin jia lab de zu Trava yi xi zan jia war zin jia lab de zu gang ge den jen zhe war jong ga ba me ba jie ba me ba ta me ba wa me ba ro me ba ta de do me do jie me zhe ba nye xie xie dan ba zu ba zan jie ma nan jie dan ba de la jiang zi du zhen jie za wa la ma jie jie ge zong do jie zin lan da da ge yu lan bet da ge den ba dan zhen jie jie dong la bo jian zhe bar zhen jie lao de zu. Just delay, dear Dharma friends. And today we are on the chapter 20, I think. It's about the the bodies of perfect Buddhahood, which means it means about three kayas, and then after is enlightened activities of the Buddhas. So first, the bodies of perfect Buddhahood. We discussed most of them, but today we are going to discuss about Nirmanakaya. So Nirmanakaya has 8 principal characteristics. They are the base, cause, domain means pure land, duration means time, character, role of encouraging, measuring function, its liberating function. So today, so there are 8 principal characteristics. So we already discussed about base, cause, domain, duration, character. Today we are going to discuss about role of encouraging. So first, I would like to say a few things here, very important. I think this is very important. Or usually with the three kayas, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, is 3 jewels, and also we say Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, Nemanakaya, so three kayas, yeah. We always need to understand that three kayas are not outside of our body and our mind and our land. So that's where they are inside of our mind of mandala. Three kayas are inside of our mind. And then we say we are going to recognize that our mind is three kayas, Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, Nemanakayas. So if we understand only our mind, oh, this is Dharmakaya, this is Sambhogakaya or Nemanakaya, and then we see outside of those things like trees, people, and house, and so forth, but they are ordinary things. People are ordinary people, and other these trees and house are the ordinary objects. So if we have this perception, then the realization of Dharmakaya cannot liberate us from samsara. So samsara means the ocean of suffering. Usually we say that, ocean of suffering. Because sometimes we think, oh, samsara is not ocean of suffering because there's some happiness. Yes, there is some happiness, but there are some happiness, but those happiness create suffering. So that's why we say samsara is ocean of suffering, because there are many sufferings, but some small temporary happiness are turning into temporary happiness turn into suffering. That's where we say samsara is ocean of suffering. Yeah, but then this is always important that we should free from thoughts. We should free from obstacles. So there are many obstacles. So if we try to solve those obstacles, we cannot solve all of these problems. But there is a method to solve those problems. How? So, for example, I say, I realize Dharmakaya. If I say I realize Dharmakaya, and then somebody use a harsh word, but it affects to me. That affects to me, my mind. So which means what I try to say is, we realize Dharmakaya means which things makes you problem, you try to realize that thing is Dharmakaya. So if we experience that, then our body is in the samsara, but our mind is in nirvana. So the same like the Mahamudra realization. We meditate and realize Mahamudra. Some realizes Mahamudra, for example. Some realize Mahamudra. But the thing is, Mahamudra is one object, and the obstacles are another object. So that's where we gain the realization of Mahamudra. That is gorgeous, wonderful. But the other side, there is problems, obstacles. They continually harm us. So that's real happen. Yeah, in our life, it's real happen. So that's where the main thing is uh, I mean, our Dharma practitioners, so what should we do? So we first we try to solve all the problems from our own mind. And then how to solve those problems is sometimes if I, for example, if my hand has a wound, it is very painful, and it always it is uncomfortable. If I have this problem, then my main practice is I'm going to understand this wound is Dharmakaya. Dharmakaya means there is no wound, but still we see it. Still we see it, just to see, but this is not a real wound. This is anyhow, this wound is not my wound, because there is no my, because there is no I. So that's where I can then we can separate grasping and wound. We can separate grasping and wound means there is no I. That means grasping separate from all phenomena. All phenomena. So all the problems come from I and my. So that's why of course we gain realization for Mahamudara in different methods. That's wonderful. But I think and I learned from Buddha how Buddha liberated from suffering, how Buddha had freed from suffering. So Buddha, before Buddha attained Buddhahood, when he was Siddhartha, at that time he has three types of suffering: suffering of suffering, changing of suffering, and pervasive of suffering. So that's where Buddha tried to free from those sufferings, and then Buddha freed. And likewise, in all these our gurus and all of this, they directly they took medicine of path instructions for remove their their wound of suffering or problems. So that's where if we understand how to practice, then we can understand our Dharma benefits in this life. Otherwise, if we separate Dharma practice and daily kind of problems or situations, then sometimes we feel Dharma doesn't solve any problems. So that's why what I try to say is, number one, you should understand your mind is Dharmakaya. Okay? So your mind is Dharmakaya, your mind is Sambhogakaya, your mind is Nirmanakaya. You should trust that is your view. That is your perfect view. And then after you believe, trust, or gain the perfect view, and then you come to utilize. That means you are going to practice. So how should you practice? For example, one person bothers you a lot. Always. You did not do any bad things towards that person. But that person directly or indirectly bothers you, make uncomfortable or something like that. At that time, you should be Dharmakaya and you should be Nirmanakaya. So how should you be Dharmakaya? So that person bothers you. At that time, you realize, oh, that person is emptiness. There's no person. The person is non-exist. So you realize that person is the emptiness, then that person's behavior or character or whatever actions cannot harm to you. That means you experientially gain the realization of Dharmakaya. If you think, oh, the realization of Dharmakaya is so higher, yeah, I agree with that. Because it's so difficult to realize that person is emptiness. Even I don't know, I don't have idea what is emptiness. Yeah. Then you should be Nirmanakaya. Then how should you do Nirmanakaya is, if that person bothers you a lot, you generate compassion. So that's why I say Nirmanakaya is in your mind, means your compassion is Nirmanakaya. So that's why how should you think that person is Nirmanakaya, you generate compassion is, oh, that person has no freedom. Yeah. That person is in a, that person is carried by a huge river of afflictive emotions. And then that person don't know how to swim. If that person understand how to swim, means that person know how to counter his bad behavior or something like that. But that person has no idea. So that's where huge river of afflictive emotions carried that person. And then in this, the ocean, the river has many waves. And then that waves move right side, left side, up and down. So that's where that person acted to us. So that's where give compassion. So this is the very then that means then this person's action cannot bother you. So the Nirmana, we can be Nirmanakaya, and then Sambhogakaya. Of course, for example, if you use that person continually for the example, if that person bothers or their action is uncomfortable or something like that, you arise pure perception. If that person is a male, you can think Ndaka. Or that person is a female, you can think Dakini. And actions are good actions. So that's why in ancient times, Mahasiddhas, even this, especially this Kajupa's lineage, the one test in the Mahamudra. One test means samsara and nirvana are one test. Right now we say, for example, poop and the apple are one test. We think, oh, how can we feel like that? That means we have a strong dualistic perception. But when our heart is, they heard samsara and nirvana are one test. First, this Sharavika and practical Buddhas are hearts. First they thought, oh, what is that? But after then, slowly they gain the realizations, and then they gain the the realization of one test. So all samsara and nirvana are same. So that's where the main thing is we are going to the free from thoughts. When we free from thoughts, this happiness is very testy or some kind of, if I use this, it's very delicious, very delicious. That means that is very how to say happiness. It's a very kind of genuine happiness. So if you have sometimes you think, oh, in my life, yeah, I have many problems, but some problems occur from outside, some problems occur from inside, and then some problem occur from inside, from my mind. So then which thoughts bothers you a lot? First you realize that and try to recognize that is emptiness or that is illusion. So if you can free from one thought, then you can experience happiness. So that is important. And anyhow, the three kayas are not outside, they are inside. So how we practice is we are going to transform all these obstacles are into the fortunate things or good things. So then we can feel that Dharma really help in this life. Of course, the Dharma helps next life. So says the role of encouraging is that the emanation body makes ordinary worldly being losing for and work towards whichever of the three types of nirvana corresponds to their mentality. So the Nirmanakaya lead peaceful environment, peaceful world, and this is the how Nirmanakaya helps in this world. And also, if we talking about individual, if I have wisdom, I mean that wisdom is like a mundane wisdom. But if I have a good wisdom, at that time I can change our own mind. Sometimes we feel that this is seriously problem. It's a very big obstacle, but then we utilize our wisdom, and then we can little lose the tightness of suffering. We can little bit untied. So that is also Nirmanakaya how helps us. And then the maturation function is that the emanation body brings to fully spiritual maturity those already engaged in the path. So that means how Nirmanakaya help. Nirmanakaya means sometimes Nirmanakaya means person, people. The people's form, we say they're tuku something. So there are many Nirmanakayas, and then then there are many other Nirmanakayas, which are the statues, stupas, books. So then here says maturation function is that the emanation body brings full spiritual maturity those already engaged in the path. Somebody already on the path of practice. For example, they received refuge vow, and then they receive Bodhisattva vow, and then we will teach about emptiness, Mahamudara, and Dzogpa Chimbo. So then the teaching through this way, for example, in the Zoba Chimbo, say, oh, syllable ah. So ah is the real, what's the intrinsic awareness, and the real phenomena. Real phenomena is ultimate truth. So even we say ah, and spontaneously we are rest, relax. So that is also extremely important. Sometimes we gain realization of Dzogpa Chimbo and Mahamudara or Madhyamaka, but we don't know how to rest there. So that's where sometimes we should be like a kayak. Kayak is in the lake or ocean, for example. It does not sink inside, and it does not, how to say, separate from ocean. When we leave it just stay there, just a little bit move left side and right side, that's all. So likewise, when we gain Mahamudara, and we should understand how to realize there comfortably. So then that means we gain the Mahamudara realization experientially. So otherwise, sometimes we become like a paper or clothes. If we put papers or clothes in the water, and then we know what happens, yeah. And sometimes we become like a stone. So if we throw a stone in the ocean, it just immediately sink underneath of this ocean. So that's where sometimes we gain realization of Mahamudara and Zopa Chimbo temporarily, and suddenly something happened. Sometimes we have fixation on it. Sometimes we have a doubt. What is that? It is real my realization or not? So that's where we cannot remain continually. So we don't have time to experience. So that's where after we gain that realization, we are going to rest there at ease, peacefully, tranquilly. This is a very important. And then, so maturation means somebody already in the path of the bodhicitta, bodhisattvas, and they are on the path of practicing, and then we introduce the natural state of mind, and then they gain the realizations, yeah. So, and then according to the Mahamudara Hong syllable, so Hong syllable and A syllable are indivisible. So that's where, if one understand Hong syllable and A syllable are indivisible or inseparable, then one can understand, oh, Mahamudara and Dzogpa Chimbo are union, same. Those practitioners then never feel that, oh, Dzogpa Chimbo is low, Mahamudara is highest, or Mahamudara is low, Dzogpa Chimbo is higher. Those, because syllable A and Hong are no different. They have no different. This is, and then what should we understand is, for example, we say Hong. Some Dharma friends already asked me about this. We say Hong, or we just say table, or we say Hong. What is different? There are huge difference. What is the difference is, we say table, it comes from thoughts. This is not a natural sound of our wisdom wind. So that's where I say that is a sound of the karmic wind. So we say Hong, this is a natural sound of wisdom wind. So that's where then we make it bigger and bigger. Already there's like a candlelight, lamp or the candlelight, and we make bigger and bigger. That means we say Hong. It's then coming like arises through whole channels, and then if our channels filled by the wisdom wind, then the karmic wind has no way to travel there. So then what happens? If there's a big river, there's a small river. If they mixed, then what happened? Small river transform into big river. Likewise, this karmic wind transform into wisdom wind, and then wisdom wind become bigger and bigger, and become very powerful. And wisdom wind become so powerful, and then we have more good perceptions. We see good things, we hear good things. If sometimes we hear bad things or we see bad things, we can transform them into the good things, because wisdom wind mind is like a sun. Last night, even we can't see our hands because of darkness, yeah. But then today we see even the small stones from far away. So likewise, last night darkness, where it was going, it was turned into the sunlight, because darkness is also light. If darkness is not light, it cannot transform into the sunlight. Likewise, as karmic winds, thoughts, they all actually naturally, the nature of karmic winds is wisdom wind. So that's where it can transform into the wisdom wind. Likewise, thoughts, naturally it's dharmakaya, so that's where we can transform it into the wisdom and paramoja wisdom. So and then the liberation function is that the emanation body frees from the fetters of existence those who have reached the full maturity in virtues. Okay, so so that means some already became maturate. Maturate means they have some realizations. They have relative bodhicitta, and sometimes they arise ultimate bodhicitta, sometimes not. So happen, but then Nimanakaya helps to increase their realization of ultimate bodhicitta. Thus, it says in the Uttara Tantra. Uttara Tantra is actually, this is Tantra and Sutara both. Who taught this? This is a material Buddha taught to Asanga. Yeah. So then it says it calls worldly beings to enter the path of peace, brings them to full maturity, and is that which gives rise to protection. Protection means so then Nimanakayas also, how they do is they someone are not in the Dharma path, they bring into the Dharma path. Someone already in the Dharma path, and then Nimanakayas bring them in the higher path. And some already on the higher path, and then they Nimanakaya production means like a prophecy. Prophecy means, for example, Amitabha Buddha told to Chinas, in the future you will become enlightened, like that Pure Land. Or for example, Shakyamuni Buddha, this is better. Shakyamuni Buddha said that Nagarjuna, in the after I pre-nirvana, 400 years later, there will coming one child. His name is Gelong Pardin. Gelong means full ordained monk. Pardin means Nagarjuna's real name. Actually, the Dharma spiritual masters has many names since India and then everywhere. Yeah, so they and then his name changed. So then people call him Nagarjuna. So we call Nagarjuna, which means Nagarjuna bring 12 volumes from Nagaland, Nagas Ram, because they kept this many sutara teachings, the volumes there. So Nagarjuna bring them in our Ram, human Ram. So that's where people call him Nagarjuna. So likewise, and then Buddha said, he greatly provides these my teachings everywhere, and then he will become enlightened. So production or preface means like that. So these are also Nemanakayas do this. Then these are the 8 characteristics of the emanation body. The ornament of clear realization says, this is also material Buddha taught to Asanga. Ornament, clear realization. This subject is also taught by material Buddha. Yeah? The body that acts simultaneously means at the same time. Yeah. And in all sorts of ways to help beings, for as long as existence continues, is the unceasing emanation body of the sage. Sage means actually one name of Shakyamuni Buddha. Sage means some practitioners stay in the very remote place and meditate. Then in ancient times, their name is sage. So Buddha also practiced in the solitary place. So that's where people call him sage. Then the meaning is already the same. Already I explained. So this meaning is the 7th point concerns the 3 particularities of the Buddha bodies, those of identity, permanent, and manifestation. The particularity of identity is that the Dharmakaya of all Buddha is identical. That means exactly same. Being inseparable from its support, the ultimate expanse, the enjoyment body of all Buddha is identical, since its noble disposition is the same. Okay, this talking about the Sambhogaya. So first, there is all the Buddha Dharmakaya of Buddhas are identical, means always exactly same. So which means some Dharmakaya is good, some Dharmakaya is not good. It doesn't have like that. So all Dharmakaya, 3 times of Buddhas and 10 directions of Buddhas are they all actually Dharmakaya, and their Dharmakaya is same, no different. This Dharmakaya is good, this Dharmakaya is bad. There's no like that. And also, of course, Buddha's Dharmakaya are same, and our Dharmakaya and Buddha's Dharmakaya are same, even right now. Right now, your Dharmakaya has no single different. There's no different. Same. So the Dharmakaya is same. And your Dharmakaya and Shakyamuna's Buddha's Dharmakaya and some bugs in the bathroom, their Dharmakaya are same. The Dharmakaya are same. And then the little different thing is some has a very deep ignorance, and Shakyamuna's Dharmakaya is completely purified from ignorance. So it isn't different of Dharmakaya. So the obscurations are just a cover, like a cover of books. So this is very temporary. So identical means in this case it's same, exactly the same. All Dharmakaya are same, and then there or Dharmakaya expands means Dharmakaya means is expands like a boundless space. So that's where we practice four immeasurables. Immeasurable bodhicitta. That is actually relative bodhicitta. But we are coming through this way, then we will reach boundless of space, or this we reached in the Dharmakaya space. So that's where practice immeasurable bodhicitta is extremely important. Extremely. When you think, sometimes probably you feel that, oh, I practice immeasurable bodhicitta, but I don't have feeling. Bodhicitta means love, yes? So love means we should love someone, but feel that immeasurable, I don't have this feeling. Sometimes some practitioners have that, probably. If not, I'm sorry. So feeling, that feeling arises slowly. So number one, you are free from, you are come out from the narrow-minded or narrow mind and a very complicated area. So which means when one has grasping, I is important. Whether one says I am important or not, but feel that. One feels that. So that's where we are going to come out of narrow mind, means actually grasping. So we should come out of this mind. And then how should we come is, we think all beings. Even we think all beings, at that time we are looking widely. For example, we look at a single tree or we look at the whole trees. They are quite different, yeah? Likewise, we think all beings, at that time our mind becomes immeasurable. Who can measure it? It becomes immeasurable. So that's where practice, the four immeasurables are extremely important. Especially first you practice immeasurable of love, bodhicitta, then immeasurable of compassion, and then you this joy, and then the result is immeasurable of equanimity. Immeasurable equanimity means your mind is, at that time what happens is your mind is very open, wide, expands. If your mind becomes like this empty space, then there can the aeroplanes, birds, the winds, the clouds, everything can go, but they cannot destroy the empty space. Likewise, any thoughts arises, any obstacles occurs, they cannot bother you. So so that's where ultimate expense is also Dharmakaya's quality, and it is Dharmakaya. And then enjoyment, body of all Buddhas is identical since it is noble disposition. Disposition is the same, okay? So disposition means inherent qualities of mind and character. So enjoyment body, they used in English enjoyment body, in Sanskrit Sambhogakaya, Dharmakaya Sambhog, this is Sambhogakaya. Sambhogakaya is also result of immeasurable bodhicitta. Sambhogakaya is a result of immeasurable bodhicitta. Because we experience bodhicitta, we have happiness, happy mind. So that's where then Sambhogakaya means a form of joy, bliss, joys, happiness. So that's where all Sambhogakayas, there are 10 directions and 3 times of Sambhogakayas, and all sentient beings are Sambhogakayas. So that's where, as I said recently, usually we say countless of mother sentient beings, but there are countless of Buddhas. So that's where all all Sambhogakaya are same. Your Sambhogakaya and Buddha's Sambhogakaya are same. The emanation body means Nimanakaya. Body of all Buddhas is identical because their activity is common. So Nimanakayas, their activity is common means the same way. They always create happiness and cause of happiness. They always liberate from suffering and cause of suffering. Yeah. Therefore, the ornament of Mahayana Sutara says these are identical because of their support, intention, and activity. The particularity of permanence, Dharmakaya is permanent by its very nature because being the ultimate is very identity is that which is without coming into being or ceasing. So these here says usually we say all phenomena impermanent, especially when we practice the 100 days retreat. So at that time there is all material things are impermanent. We should meditate about impermanence. Yeah, but here says Dharmakaya is permanent. So what is that permanent? So in this case, permanent, they call the name of permanent, but this means that this is beyond of permanent and impermanent. Usually we say permanent means something we think, always we feel like a same. Through our conception, we always feel the same. For example, I see the flower here yesterday, and then today I see again. I saw a flower yesterday, and today I see this. I think it's same. So I don't say this is permanent, but I feel that. I think that. That's where I have a perception of permanent. So that's where we practice 4 thoughts. We try to reduce this. So we think, last year's and this year I am same. But it's not true. It's each and every moment it changes. It changes. So that's why. But in Dharmakaya is permanent means beyond all, beyond permanent and impermanent. So that's where it called that. And then because it's coming in without coming into being or ceasing. So maybe you remember this small book, the 37 Bodhisattvas way of life. Is Jersey Tomi Zambo. He wrote. The writer is Jersey Tomi Zambo. At the very beginning, it says all phenomena neither come nor go. So in the 37, even first sentence, it mentioned about Dharmakaya. All phenomena means, what is all phenomena? Dharmakaya. Neither come nor go. It's exactly here says, without coming into being or ceasing. So this 37 Bodhisattva way of Bodhisattva life book is extremely important book. And if you practice this, all practices are included there. So this writer, Jersey Tomi Zambo, is who is early, the Gampopa and Jersey Tomi Zambo. Tomi Zambo was later, more younger than the Gampopa. Many people feel that, Tomi Zambo is an Indian master because the Asanga's name is Tomi Zambo. So that's but If I briefly talk about that book, and the writer's name, a story, because we always engage that book. So Tommy Zambo was 3 years old, his mother passed away. When he was 5 years old, around 5 years old, his father passed away. Since he was kids, he had engaged many problems. But when he was kid, even he was around 5 or something, he has bodhicitta in mind. So one day what happened is the outside has like a small snow, and then there's a bush, like a juniper bush. And he wearing some clothes and went out for pee. In Tibet, they just pee outside. Yeah, no, there's a particular bathroom at that time. So he went outside, and then outside has snow, and he came back, he has no clothes on his body. And then they asked, what did you do? And he said, the outside there is some bugs. They are very cold, but it's because there's snow. So that's where I covered my clothes. And then the old people went outside and look at that, and his clothes covered the bugs. He covered bugs, and then around of there he put small stones. Since he was around 5 or years old, so he has this bodhicitta. And then of course his parents passed away. He become nobody takes care except his grandmother. So grandmother is stay little. Actually, this is some stories say grandmother, some says his aunt. Anyhow, it's little far from his hometown. But then she kept her. She took care of him. But she was very poor. She has few sheep and goats. So that's where they have a problem about food and so forth. That's where sometimes she sells the sheep, and then they some killed, but she got money and some money or some like a barley or rice something, and then she ate. But then he requested her, don't do like that. But she has no way because she was already very poor, and then she has to. Another problem is she has to take care of Ngurchitomi, the 37 way of Bodhisattva's life writer. So then he ran away from there. So since he was very young, he has a very higher level of compassion, bodhicitta. And then he went to the monastery, and then he studied. He learned very quickly. When he was around 16 years or 17 years, between there, his master asked one profound question, and he answered very clearly. And that master shocked, and he asked many kids like his age. Nobody can answer that, couldn't answer. But just Tommy Zambo answered that. That's where then he thought, oh, this boy is like a Asanga. So then he called him Asanga's name in Tibetan. So that's where then we call him Tommy Zambo. Before his name is not Tommy. He has another name. So then he studied until 20-some years. He studied. And until 20-some years, he studied for 20-some years. And then he became very well-known scholar in Buddhism. And then he traveled to different monasteries and debate or discussion about Dharma. And then slowly he became Dharma master. became Dharma master. And then he started to teach. His teaching is very profound. He teach profoundly, clearly. And then he was around 40-some years old. And then he decided that he is going to do retreat. And then he went to retreat, went to the retreat hut. So when he was a retreat hut, then he started to write this small book. This small book is essence of all Dharma, especially essence of Shantideva's teaching. So that's where then some higher masters come to him because he already famous and special person. So he tried to see him. He doesn't allow. When he was doing retreat, it's very strict. So he doesn't allow any even higher masters not allowed to come here. So that's where he did very purely retreat. And then he he was writing this 37 book. He always, when he is ready to write this, he goes up the roof of his retreat hut. So what happened is, one time he wrote there was blowing very strong wind below, and all of his papers, what he wrote, everything blowed away, carried away. He did not get back because he is in the retreat hut, and then he is on the roof of a house, and he wrote this, and then he suddenly the strong wind blow, and then it blow away. So he couldn't get back. So that's where many people say that that is auspicious sign for him, because then the 37 way of Bodhisattva flourished everywhere. Actually, Jarsi Thomism was Sajapa in the lineage, Sajapa's lineage. But there's no different about Nyingmapa, Kajupa, Sajapa, Gelogpa. They all equally practice learning this text. So this text is amazing. So then this is just that is his story. That is important. I think important to know. But the very beginning, it says all phenomena neither come nor go. So that talks about our natural state of mind. Yeah, and then this last I prostrate to Chinese. Yeah, so that means it mentioned also Nemanakaya, and it mentions about Sambhogakaya. Then the enjoyment body is permanent through being continuous, in as much as the experience of Dharma that is manifest is uninterrupted. Okay. So Sambhogakaya is permanent, means exactly what happens. For example, we have some experience like a temporary happiness. Exactly, it is temporary. Temporarily experienced, temporarily goes. For example, this morning, if we eat very delicious food, we want to eat lunch because it's goodbye already. So likewise, but Sambhogakaya means actually our bliss. Bliss is nature, very nature, and it continually we experience that bliss. That's through this way. This says is the permanent. And then the emanation body is permanent is insofar as its deeds are permanent. Yeah. So in this case, Nirmanakaya appears always. Sometimes Nirmanakaya appears with people like a Shakyamuni Buddha is excellent Nirmanakaya. And then there are different levels of Nirmanakayas. And sometimes the Nirmanakaya is coming through form of the clouds, stones, water, and so forth. So at least all moms has compassion to one's child, for example. This is also Nirmanakaya's activity. Through this way, it says permanent, okay? Although its manifestation disappear, it shows itself over and over again. That's very true. So, although the which manifests in correspondence to a certain need will cease. There is a functional permanence since it arises appropriately without delay. The ornament of Mahayana Sutara says permanence of nature, of uninterruptedness, and of continuity. So, three kayas are permanent. They are not impermanent. The reason is how they be as permanent, how they I already explained. Yeah, the particularity of manifestation, the Dharmakaya manifests through the purification of the knowledge obscuration that clothes the ultimate expanse. The enjoyment body, that means the Sambhogakaya, body manifests through the purification of afflictions, obscuration. The emanation body manifests through the purification of karmic obscurations. So now we understand three kayas are here, but three obscurations. So these three obscurations covered. So that's why we have to purify three obscurations. Number one, obscurations of knowledge. So if we are going to arise Dharmakaya here, we are going to purify obscurations of knowledge. So that's why I said this morning, if one person bothers you a lot, if you try to fix that person's mind, it takes so long, even hard. But if you fix your mind means be patient, means just hold breath. This is not so smart. There is a story in the Lhasa, one person meditate and stay like this, and then another person came there and he asked, what are you doing? And he said, I'm practicing patience. And then he used one very bad kind of harsh words, exactly replied that. So sometimes it happens, you know. So the thing is, fixed one's own mind means emptiness. For that reasons, emptiness, realization of emptiness and compassion has a special relation. So which means when that person is emptiness, his afflictive emotions are very fake or illusory things, not truly exist. But still he or she follows it. So I feel sympathy, kind of feel compassion. So that's where they have a special relation. So Lord Jigten Sungho said that if you really gain the perfect realization of emptiness, your compassion naturally arises. Malarepa says same thing, and so that's where this is important. Also, sometimes when you read books, for example, focus. Sometimes it's probably it's a good thing. Sometimes it's you understand meaning. Just read, it has merit, but we need a very great merit. So that's where sometimes when you recite sadhanas, follow your mind and sadhana make relation. Best thing is that after make relation, bring here. Don't left in the sadhana. If you left all sadhana and after you close, and the sadhanas, this information remain in the book, not in your mind. And then you come outside of the temple or retreat hut, and again these realizations are far from you. and then you travel to different place, over by over, you getting distance, yeah. So that's where then it cannot benefit. So that's where bring in the mind and let melt into the mind. So then the teachings, practices, recitations all benefit, which means one will liberate from the all obscurations. So then these Sambhogakaya, the afflictive emotions. Okay, afflictive emotions are radiate from the self-grasping. Compassion and bodhicitta are radiate from selflessness. The same thing, we gain realization of selflessness. Means, oh, I meditate selflessness. Oh, since there's no self, this is important, and then you should understand to place them somewhere. So where should you place? So the same like the people or something bothers you, or afflictive emotions bothers you, you place on there, and then let them melt there. Melt them, then you are free from the obscurations. So that means you radiate compassion, bodhicitta, and especially in Vajrayana practice, you more pure perceptions are very important. So, and then this emanation of, or the emanation body means this Nirmanakayas. That means you should understand more that you should purify more agitations, dullness. So these, and then of course one is very rarely engaged, but should be take care. For example, there are 5 inexpiables. We call them the third obscuration, because people who has like these obscurations, they suddenly, if one engaged about 5 expiables obscurations, 5 expiable obscurations, if one purifies them, then one can. If one doesn't purify them, one has no chance to go to the pardo. I mean, it's directly experience the lower realms, like hell realms, suffering, or so forth. So I don't make you scared or something like that. So samsara or hell realm is also not far. Hell realm is in the mind. Nirvana is in the mind. So that's why if you doesn't purify your obscurations, kind of through obscurations, and then you experience many intensive suffering. So very serious suffering. That is we call nirvana. Sorry, that's it's a hell realm. So when you practice more like virtues, and then step by step you experience happiness, joys. So that means then we are in the nirvana. So samsara and nirvana both in the mind, and nirvana is inherently exist. We can say that actually it is beyond of exist, but we call exist, yeah. And then hell realm and samsara is very temporary. So this concludes the 20th chapter on the result, perfect Buddhahood of this ornament of precious liberation, a wish-fulfilling gem of sublime Dharma. Okay, then the next is 21 enlightened activities of the Buddhas. So after, if we know very well about the Trikayas, and then their activities, spontaneously we know their activities. So, but here one chapter is about that. I will continually teach, but we will finish today all this. So here is explained the land. The activity is to non-conceptually fulfill the welfare of beings. So teaching this activity part is instead of your questions. We talked about the three kayas a lot. Then there are some like a conflict or some questions, something unclear. Then in this activities part makes more clear for you. So this part is actually important. At first, bodhicitta is developed, then the path is practiced, and finally the fruition, Buddhahood, it is achieved. So now you understand, yeah? If you are going to achieve Buddhahood, what should you practice? Bodhicitta. Then you understand who is Buddha or three kayas. Where are they? In the mind. Yeah? Because all these goals have been pursued solely to eliminate beings' sufferings and ensure their happiness. You may wonder how, in fact means true, yeah? In fact, there can be any benefiting of beings which Buddhahood is attained, since Buddhas are without either conceptual activity or effort. Okay, first, eliminate beings' suffering. So eliminate beings' suffering means we always say, may all beings have happiness and cause of happiness, and free from suffering and cause of suffering. So that's where eliminate means we are going to purify the cause of suffering. So Dharma teaching. So Dharma teaching. This is important to know. I think Dharma teaching at that time, what should you understand is it teaches how to purify the cause of suffering. And when you practice, you are going to purify the suffering. So that's where then Dharma, and you apply these Dharma methods. So if you do this, then you will liberate from suffering. So, but then here, some thought that if Buddhas are kind of permanent, or they don't have ordinary perceptions, or I'm going to purify this suffering. Buddha doesn't have these perceptions or conceptual. So then they think how Buddha can help us, how they act, And then it says, there does nevertheless occur spontaneous and uninterrupted benefiting of beings, even though Buddhas do not think or make effort. To explain this point, the following is the synopsis. Synopsis is kind of a root of the text. So that means Buddha has no thoughts, but it benefits. Like a sun has no thoughts, but sunshine, and then it helps many kind of plants, and it helps us, yeah. So the sun doesn't thought I'm going to help like that or this, and same like rains or so forth. Clouds, they don't have thoughts, but they benefit us. It's the same. So then enlightened activity is summed up in 3 points: the noble bodies of the Buddhas, without deliberate thought, accomplish benefit for beings, and likewise do the magnificent speech and the noble mind. This is the synopsis. Explains of this non-conceptual performance of the welfare of beings physically, verbally, physically, verbally means speech, verbally and mentally, are given in the Uttara Tantra. Like India, the divine divine means having, Devin, drum and cloud and Brahma, like the sun and a precious wish fulfilled jewel, like in echo, like space, and like the earth. Such is the activity of the Tathagata. First, we have examples of how the noble forms or bodies of the Buddhas non-conceptually accomplish benefit for beings. This is talking through the examples, explained through examples. Okay, the quotation, like the manifestation of Indra. Indra means king of gods. Indra gives the example of how the non-conceptualizing bodies can bring benefit to sentient beings. In this example, Indra, lord of the gods, dwells in his palace. Dwells means possess. Palace means kingdom. Palace, called the house of victory, in the company of a host of young goddesses. The palace is made of Veduriya jewel, so pure and lustrous that Indra's reflected image appears on the walls and can be seen from the outside. So here Buddha mentioned about the television. Television. It's exactly right now in the TV. We can see one channel can see everywhere. So likewise, this Indra king, he stayed in the palace, which palace or mandala, his mandala made by Vendriya jewel, and then there's one Indra king, King Indra, but it appears everywhere. Like if there are four walls are there are four mirrors. If we enter inside, then we have four bodies. Likewise, and then people see his like a joyful life, and then they wish they become like that. But this Indra king doesn't have that thought. Even they don't. Indra king doesn't know people have that wish. This is example. So without conceptual still can benefit through Buddha can benefit us. Where human living on earth able to behold this image of Indra and his divine enjoyment in the heaven above them, they would long and pray to live like that. Exactly, With such a goal in mind, they would make sincere efforts to be virtuous. And through such virtue, they might be reborn in such a state after death. So many beings, they reborn in pure heaven or some this the Indra king's land, because they practice, they have a wish to reborn there. So that's where they see the Indra king's joyful life, and they try to rebirth there, and then they reborn there. So likewise, then the example it says, and through such virtue, vision that inspires them takes place without any effort of attention on the part of Indra. In a similar way, those who have entered the path of highest good and uh, who cultivate faith and similar virtues will see the form of the perfect Buddhas adorned with their special marks and signs. Uh, they will see them walking, standing, uh, sitting, sleeping, teaching the Dharma, meditating, and accomplishing of all sorts of miracles. As a result, they will experience faith and yearn to attain such a state. Yearn means longing. So faith is very important. So when we're talking about the faith, then it's very much related that our guru. So we always should think that Turikayas, if we make separate, there are Turikayas. They are our mind, but include our guru. So there's a guru is very help for us. Actually, it says more than Buddhas. So that means the guru, Buddha come to us like a human form to help us. So that's where faith is very important. If we have faith, then our mind is untied, untightening, and our mind is become like a spring season's earth. Spring season's earth is it's warm, and then if they get little bit rains and the sun, and then sunlight, and then beautiful flowers ready to grow there. Likewise, if we already have a Buddha nature, and if we arise as a faith, if we develop our faith, then all qualities are ready to arise. Otherwise, how many times we say generate compassion, generate bodhicitta, try to realize those dharmakaya or something like that is quite hard. So the first you arise more faith, develops your devotion. When you all Dharma practitioners has this experience. So when you arise as a devotion, your mind spontaneously become very soft. When at that time, this soft is a great thing because it's ready to arise many qualities from your mind. So that's to become like that, they will practice the virtues that are its cause. So that's where the faith is the cause to attain Buddhahood. And then bodhicitta and all the other acquisite practices. As a result, they will eventually become Buddhas. So aspiration is very important. First, we need aspiration. For example, if we are going to somewhere, first we need, I'm going to Chino Valley, for example. So first we need this aspiration, yeah? And second, then we try. If one don't like to go to Chino Valley, and then if a car is there, even airplanes there, still one stay in the house. So likewise, first we need the aspiration that attain Buddhahood for the sake of all beings. Sometimes there is a story. One poor family, very poor. Even the food is shortage, and so no drink, no clothes. But underneath their house, there is a treasure, is jewels. But they don't know that. Likewise, we have a Buddha nature here, and if we always follow about the temporary happiness, and then we cannot experience this Buddha nature. So that's where now we need aspiration. I'm going to try. I would like to see how about Buddha nature, something like that. First, we need this, and then we can, then spontaneously we practice, and then also diligence. Among the six perfections, diligence. Diligence means not always doing something unwillingly hard work. So always you practice happily, joyfully. This is a psychologically very useful, it's necessary, especially in this modern century. People are busy and they have lots of kind of uh, how to say some uncomfortable emotions in the mind. So when you practice dharma, even you practice 1 hour or practice one day, practice happily, at least the beginning of there. You happily practice dharma, you can make relation with the dharma. So then diligence means that, efforts means that. If you have interesting enthusiasm, you spontaneously do it. You don't know how the time and how the times, days, weeks, months go gone. You can't feel it because you have happy, interesting. So that's where okay, the manifestation of the Buddha's forms, bodies take place without any deliberate though, and without any movement on the Buddha's part. Thus, it is stated, just as on the clear surface of Vedurya, oh sorry, actually I familiar Bandria, okay, Bandria jewel, there appears the reflected forms of the Lord of Gods. So on the clear surface of beings, minds, here appears the reflected form of the King of Conquerors. Who is King of Conquerors? King of Conqueror, Shakyamuni Buddha, or all the Buddhas. Conqueror means they conquers, eliminated all the obscurations. That's where we call them conquerors. The land, like the divine drum gives the example of how the Buddha's speech can accomplish the welfare of beings without forethought. In the example, a trumpet sounds in the realm of the gods. It resounds as a result of the gods' former beneficial actions. This you often heard, yeah, this story. The trumpet does not have thought or intention, yet its sound conveys messages such as all conditioned things are impermanent. So in the God's realm, there is a drum. This drum has no thoughts or no perception to say all conditioned things are impermanent. But this sound, naturally, it says that. And then all the gods and the goddesses, they thought, oh, if I always enjoy in the beautiful gardening, flower gardening, is not okay. Now I'm ready to practice some. So likewise, that means that Buddhas also teach us, help us, like that drum. They don't have thoughts. That alert the gods who are inclined. Inclined means inclined means tendency. Inclined to neglect. Neglect means ignorance. Yeah, ignore. Neglect virtue in the present. Thus, it is stated, just as through the power of the gods, former virtue, the Dharma drum in the divine realms, without any thought, effort, location, mind or form, alerts, all carefree gods over and over again, with the words impermanence, suffering, no self, and peace. So this is this four special informations that drum mentions. The four special informations. So all these conditioned things are impermanent, and they are suffering, and then but no self. If we want to gain the realization of no self, this is peace. This is a peace, or yeah. So as in the example, it is without any effort or deliberation that the speech of the Buddhas transmits suitable teachings to those who are ready. So it is stated. Likewise, without effort and so forth, the omnipresent embraces all beings without conception with the speech of the enlightened ones, teaching the Dharma to those who are ready. So teaching Dharma is sometimes you, I think, understand that. Teaching Dharma, yes, the one Lama or Guru gives you teach, yeah, you listen. This is also one way. Sometimes you read the book and you understand the special things through reading. This means you are teaching by yourself. So this is very helpful. Even you read one text for 100,000 times, but after that, still you can read and think there are some understand arises. It's definitely. So in the above way, the speech of the Buddha accomplished the welfare of beings without any need for conscious, deliberate thought. The land, like a cloud, presents the analogy. I think analogy is comparison, yeah, of how the perfect mind of the Buddhas non-conceptually accomplished the good of beings. During the monsoon, clouds gather effortlessly in the sky, and there rain falling on the earth without any deliberation on the clouds. Part cause the growth of perfect crops and many other things to happen. It is stated, just as from monsoon clouds, a maze of water, the condition of plentiful crops falls down to earth. So Mother Earth already has great qualities to grow crops and plants. And then clouds has no thoughts that I'm going to make rain and let grow something, but just clouds gather in the space, and then rain comes, and then many crops arise, grow on the earth, and then people eat, and then it benefits. Then people offer this, it accumulate merits. People practice generosity through this way. It saves many lives. So that's where it saves many lives. Likewise, Buddha has no thought, I'm going to radiate Sambhogakaya and Nirmanakaya, so forth, but they radiate, spontaneously radiate. And Mother Sentient Beings has this Buddha nature. They are connect each others, and then they're hearing many teachings from them. So, but that and then they eventually they attain Buddhahood. But when you don't think, oh, Buddha has no thought, Dharmakaya has no thought, spontaneously doing something, so I don't need to do anything. If we think like that, then that is misunderstand. Then we always remain in the samsara. So we also should do something. For example, sun give vitamin D. They say that, yeah, sun gives vitamin D. But we are inside of the house, outside the sunshine. So if we don't want outside, we cannot get vitamin D. Likewise, Buddha always, Dharmakaya always gave us teachings, so we should participate, and then we should practice. In a similar way, the activity of the Buddha mind without requiring any deliberation pours down the rain of Dharma onto beings training in virtue, thus it is stated. Similarly, the clouds of great compassion, without any need of deliberation, rain down the sublime teachings of the victorious ones and ripen crops of holisms among beings. Yeah, these are very easy to understand. Yeah, thus the Buddha mind accomplished the welfare of beings without any needs for conscious thought. So Buddha doesn't have conscious. Buddha doesn't have conscious, and Buddha has wisdom. So right now we have consciousness. So consciousness transform into wisdom, we become Buddha. When our consciousness transform into wisdom, we become Buddha. Thus the Buddha mind accomplished the welfare of beings without any need for conscious thought. Okay. Regarding the words, conscious means in Tibetan namshi, actually namshi. It makes more clear. Namshi means the only outside. It's like we judge it from the outer things, you know. So consciousness is conscious means it's a consciously we see something, which means we see from outside, we can't see inside. Yeah, but wisdom means it sees something inside. Yeah, so utterly things. Regarding the words like Brahma, Lord of the gods, manifests his presence in all the heavens, yet never leaves his own Brahma, having in a similar way, without ever moving from the Dharmakaya, the Buddha manifests the travel deeds and other similar emanations to those training in virtue that brings them benefit. So this is your mind, natural state of mind is in your mind, right now in your mind. But you generate compassion in your family. Even your family is far from here. So your compassion directly goes there. That is Nirmanakaya. So as here says, without ever moving from Dharmakaya. So then Nirmanakaya, or another way we can say, your love and compassion is Sambhogakaya, and your Dharmakaya or is here, and you compassionately call phone. And your friend, you have a very good friend, that your friend has facing problems, and then you compassionately give some advice, try to solve problems, give some methods how to solve these problems, your friend happy. So this activity is your Nirmanakaya, and this compassion is your Sambhogakaya, and you have this come from your Dharmakaya. So Dharmakaya, we say three kayas. I mean, we are not talk some stories of some other lines, okay? Our stories. So so it is stated, just as a Brahma without ever moving from the Brahma having effortlessly shows his manifestations in all the other havings, so also does our victorious one without ever moving from the Dharmakaya effortlessly show his emanations anywhere, everywhere, to those whose karma makes them ready. So Brahma, who is Brahma? Brahma is one of king of the gods, actually. So this is a, but then how what does he do is he stayed one place, but his body travels in different gods' realm. So why it happened is because he has some miracle power. So that's where the example bring from here. So then in the example of the sun, there are a few examples. The sun is sun's ray without any need for deliberation cause lotuses and innumerable other kinds of flowers to blossom simultaneously. Similarly, without any thought or efforts, the rays of the Buddha's teachings cause the lotuses that are the minds of manifestly varied disciples, with their different aspirations to open towards that which is the holism. So that's where the example is easy to understand. So uh, uh, you have like a wisdom sunlight here, and then the warmness is like a compassion is that sun's warmness. So you radiate that towards the flowers of others people's mind. Everybody's mind is flower, but some are not aren't blossoming. So you should radiate your sunlight of the wisdom. So when you radiate your sunlight of the wisdom, this sunflower, the people's mind flowers blossom. So that's why how Dharmakaya benefit us like the sun. Sun has no thoughts. Nobody doubt, yeah? The sun has thought or not? No thoughts, but the sunflower. Even if we don't know many flowers, but we know sunflowers. So sunflower means when sunshine is it blossoms. So it's amazing. It's interdependence. The sun is in the ordinary thoughts. Generally, we say sun is in the sky. Yeah? Flowers are under the ground and coming, and how they connection. This connection is amazing. But if we know sentient beings and Buddha's connection, it's in as much amazing. It's gorgeous, really. So, but that is actually not two kind of people's connection. Also, not only that, your mind, Buddha mind, and your sentient being mind has a special connection. So then you should make a relation between there, yeah? Make a harmony relation. Then it makes help. Taking this example of the sun another way, just as the reflection of the sun appears simultaneously in all surfaces that are sufficiently clear and smooth, so does the Buddha appear simultaneously to all disciples of sufficiently pure inner disposition. Disposition means the inherent qualities of mind. In all the water vessels that are those pure disciples, countless reflections of the Buddha, of the Buddha Sun, appears simultaneously. In the example of the wish-fulfilling gem, just as a wish-fulfilling gem does not think. So this is another example. Actually, I already taught you about wish-fulfilling gem. Yeah. Yet effortlessly produces whatever is requested by the person who calls on it. So the goals corresponding to the various motivations of the Sharavikas and other disciples are accomplished because of the Buddhas. Thus it is stated, just as a wish-fulfilling gem, without thought and spontaneously, completely fulfills the wish of those within its sphere. Sphere means area, a sphere of influence. So also on account, account means in this case because of account of the wish fulfilling Buddha, those of various motivations hear different kinds of teachings without any deliberation on the Buddha's part. This is true or not? If you think this is very true. For example, right now we say, may all mother thinking beings have happiness and a cause of happiness. All mother thinking beings ask or request us to say that? Nobody. Nobody said. We do. We do, yeah. So especially enemies. Enemies never tried to say, please teach me something. But we say, enemies who hate me, who obstructed me to me. So at the beginning of Yellow Book, we always say, may they liberate, may they free from suffering. We always pray for them. So that's where our mind is like a wish fulfilling gem. And then especially who more supplicate, request, they quickly receive these the blessings. So that's is a little different. Otherwise, we do all that we pray for all mother thinking beings. That's where Bodhicitta mind is wish fulfilling gem. Bodhicitta is the best wish fulfilling gem. And then we always pray for welfare all mother thinking beings. At the same time, we purify. So Bodhicitta is like a washing machine. And our mind, the ordinary thoughts is like a ordinary mind. Actually, ordinary mind means consciousness. Consciousness is clothes. So we launder in that, and then all kind of obscurations purifies. So then similar to above, there are three more examples, those of in echo of space and of the earth, showing how beings can be benefited by the Buddhas without requiring any conscious though on their part. This was the 21st chapter on non-conceptual enlightened activity of this ornament of precious liberation, a wish fulfilling gem of sublime Dharma. This conclude this ornament of precious liberation, a wish fulfilling gem of sublime Dharma, progressively explain the Mahayana path composed by the physician. Physician means doctor, yeah. Sunam Rinchen. Sunam Rinchen is Gampopa's name. Sunam Rinchen, he met Milarepa, and Milarepa asked, "What's your name?" Sunam Rinchen. And then Milarepa called 3 times, Sunam Rinchen, Sunam Rinchen, Sunam Rinchen. So the Gampopa is the great Bodhisattva when Buddha was India. And then Gampopa was in Tibet at that time. First, he became great doctor, and then after he became great Gepi, after he became great this Mahasiddha. So at the Sunam Rinchen at the instigation means request, yeah, instigation of Dharmaja. So he has also many names, Dharmaja, and transcribed by the letter. May whatever merit there be in your transcription in terms of non-conceptual benefit for beings through the wish-fulfilling secured Dharma help all beings attain supreme enlightenment virtue. Let me just read the beginning. There is some reason there. So I prostrate to the youthful Mazashiri, having paid homage to the Buddha, their spiritual hearers, the sublime Dharma, and also to the Guru, who are the root of all these. I will now write the. Is that? All right. Sure. Oh, Buddha nature. Buddha nature. The land. Buddha nature totally permits all beings. The shorter great passing into Nirvana Sutra says all sentient beings possess Buddha nature. Okay, thank you, thank you so much. And we please arise bodhicitta and compassion from your mind, and we dedicate all the merits for welfare of all mother sentient beings. The yellow book, page number 56. Okay. Emma ngomsar zanje nawan daye daye su juwa duje jembo da yonda zamba duje dona la zanje jansa ba me gorje gor deje ngomza ba de me ba ye dewa jinje jave jengander da yen de zembe jerma da jewa jinje barma jobar Tere jene nande jardo joy de ge doge mola da baye Jojo sanje janse damje je gemen robar jinje labdo sor Daya da banzan jaya avam buddha naya zowa.
Emaho, in the center, is the wondrous Buddha Amitabha of boundless light. To his right is Chenrizek, the Lord of great compassion, and to his left is Bhadrapani, the Bodhisattva of great power. They are surrounded by an inconceivable number of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Limitless peace and happiness is the pure land of great bliss. As soon as I and others pass from this life unhindered by another samsaric birth, may we be born there and see the face of Amitabha, boundless light. Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions, through your blessings, please accomplish this aspiration without hindrance. Teata Pensagriya Awa Botanaya Soha.
Page 28. Chanjo Zenjo Rembo Je Ma Je Ba Na Je Jur Je Je Ba Nyam Ba Me Ba Ya Ko Ne Gon De Be Wa Jo.
May bodhicitta, the precious and supreme mind, arise in whom it has not yet arisen. Where it has arisen, may it not decline, but ever increase higher and higher.
We want to thank Khenpo Tenzin for his deep wisdom, kindness, patience with us, and love as he's shown during these precious teachings of the Jewel Ornament of Liberation over the past year or so, a little bit longer than a year. So right now we'd like to make an offering to Khenpo Tenzin. We can't thank you enough. Our gratitude runs very deep. We'll now be taking a break from Khenpo's teachings. We will let you know when he's going to start up again. Please make sure you're on our email list, which you can join at www.garchen.net if you aren't on it already. And we do expect the teachings to be at the same time. That would be 10 a.m. Pacific time on Tuesdays, but do check in on that and via your email. Thanks to all of you who have attended these precious teachings from around the world. Wishing you many blessings until next time.
Thank you so much.